Greetings, urban farmers, gardeners, and healthy food visionaries. Farmer Greg here, and welcome to the 544th episode of the Urban Farm Podcast, where every day we work to educate and inspire you to become part of your food revolution. What if you could stop relying on going to the grocery store to get eggs and milk? Here at the Urban Farm, I love my chickens, and thanks to my dozen hens, we get 8 to 10 eggs a day to fry up for breakfast or use in omelets, cakes, baked goods, and to share with our families and friends and so much more. The thing is, I don't trust a lot of the food from the grocery store. Factory farmed eggs have lower levels of nutrients than Heidi's happy, healthy hens that live in our backyard. When I get eggs and milk from the animals that I raised, I know that it's as nutritious as possible, and I become much less dependent on the industrial food system. I want to challenge you to expand your idea of what it means to grow food. If you don't have livestock, consider waking up every day to fresh eggs. If you already have layers, imagine how it would feel to also get fresh milk and cheese from your yard. You can play with these possibilities by attending our Backyard Barnyard Summit coming up this June. It's completely free, online, designed to show you exactly what it takes to raise livestock in your yard, even if you live in the city. After this summit, you will know which urban animals will work in your yard, plus what you need to do to successfully raise them. Learn more and sign up at backyardbarnyardsummit.com. We're going to jump into our seed chat. Tonight we have Bill McDorman. Welcome, Bill.
Hello, everybody.
Bill is our seed expert, resident seed expert, and the director of Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance. I'll let him tell you about that in a little while. Or now, want to jump in and introduce yourself?
Well, I'm started and ran my own small, what I call bioregional seed company. It was called Seeds Trust High Altitude Gardens, and I did that for 28 years.
Is that all?
Yeah. And then I sold that and my wife and I were recruited to be the directors of Native Seed Search in Tucson, Arizona, and we did that for 3 years. And then we were recruited to start a seed conservation organization like Native Seed Search for the entire Rocky Mountain West. And so that was 6 years ago, surprisingly, and
wow.
That's what I do now. So
very good. And what are we talking about tonight? There's been some excitement around seeds in the past 60 days.
Yeah. Well, it's like there have been a lot of, it's almost verged on hoarding behaviors happening. Mm-hmm. And for my 28 years in the seed business, I recognized this behavior. The last time I saw something like what is happening right now happen was in the year 2000, when we thought Y2K was going to cause the end of the world. And everybody thought, well, if everything stops, at least I'll have my seeds. And I think that kind of thinking has been rampant with the COVID. Well, we know it has. There's evidence that seed sales have gone through the roof. And in fact, it's caused shortages. And I want to address that because I think we need to understand what people are talking about when they say seed shortage. Because just because you go to your favorite website of your favorite seed company and there's a sign up that says, due to the increased number of orders, we have shut down our sales for now. And I saw that on a number of sites, even as late as a week or two ago. And so, what I wanted to do tonight is kind of give you my perspective. It's some of it's worldwide, and it's kind of, I'm going to double click on the industry itself a little bit so that people understand what it means when we talk about a seed shortage. And so, some of it I think there is reason for fear, but a lot of the panic buying almost that's gone on is not based on founded fears, I don't believe. So hopefully we'll all learn something tonight.
When we saw that, though, actually, because we recently placed an order for our fall event called the Great American Seed Up, because we thought there might be seed shortages. And the seed grower that we bought from said, Greg, there's no seed shortages.
Exactly. And that's the point. Most of the industry that supplies the bulk amount of non-hybrid or the most popular, I would say, old school hybrid varieties that American gardeners want, those systems work on a 5-year supply. In other words, when they actually contract grow those seeds, they grow it for, if they're good and they're mature companies, they'll grow for 5 years. And those seeds are then stored, and then they'll be shipped out over a 5-year period. And the reason why they do that is that it's always been a highly variable industry. And sometimes you do get disasters, whether they're weather caused or economics or whatever, that disrupt supplies. And so, these guys have learned that the key to successful business selling seeds is to always have what everybody wants. If your favorite seed company always has what you want and it always ships it on time, then you're going to be with them for your life. I know that. I mean, I think 40% of my customers at High Altitude Gardens have been with me for 20 years or more. I mean, we're really loyal buyers once we find a company that we like and the people and we like the varieties there. But if you order out of their catalog or you go online and you can't get what you want, either it's out of stock or they don't have a lot of stuff, or even like we've just experienced, sorry, but we are not doing sales now, then that immediately frees you up to go somewhere else, and you may not come back. And so the highest value for managing a seed company is never run out of anything. And so that goes deep into the contract growers that you and I use to help supply the Great American Seed Up. And so that's what I want people to know. Now, what happened in some cases, and I've talked to a couple of growers and seed company people, smaller scale than we use for the Great American Seed Up, but have quite substantial now mail order businesses. And one was Don Tipping, who owns Siskiyou Seeds. And Casey O'Leary, who started the Snake River Seed Co-op in Idaho. And she's got about 40 growers now for their operation. I don't know how many seed racks, I mean, these guys do hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. They're not $1 million companies, but they're a really nice size company because they can provide regionality. They're a nice size, but both of them told me that their supply ahead, and they rarely catch up to have 5 years worth of seeds for everything that they sell, but their supplies were taken up this year. They were able to supply everybody, but they lost their store for years future. And so now they're kind of in emergency growing, and they expect to be able to grow back and get back to a good level, and they don't expect to have interruptions. And so which means that, why hoard or why panic buy? There's no reason to, because they're going to have their seeds again next year. Now, if for some reason, the pandemic goes on, or there's other disruptions, then that's a different question. So, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit further, because I have a perspective on this that says that this idea of making yourself feel better for survival reasons on a really basic human level, and we all have that instinct. I'm not criticizing that at all. We want to make sure, when trouble comes, like COVID and a pandemic, where it's unprecedented what we have to do, we want to make sure that we're taken care of. And one of the things we all think about is, oh my gosh, we've got to have our seeds. That if we have our seeds, no matter what happens, we'll be okay on some level. And it's the last part of that I just want to question a little bit, because I'm of the mind now that kind of survival seed buying doesn't work. And let me explain what I mean by that, because by telling you a story. I had a woman one time, and at High Altitude Gardens, she called one day, and we were actually selling buckets of seeds, and it had about 40 different varieties in it, and it had a seed saving book, and it was easily storable, and people were buying it. And she let me know that she was doing this for emergency survival reasons. And when she said that, I couldn't help but speak back to her and say, it's not going to work. And it was quiet. And then she said, so what do you mean? The seeds won't work? They're going to die or something? And I said, no. If you keep the seeds cool, dark, and dry, they'll store for decades. No, I know the seeds are okay. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that most people have never grown out 20 or 30 or 40 different kinds of things in their yard or in their backyard or in their small farm at the same time and gotten everything to work. First of all, it's just hugely complicated. It depends on the weather. There's all sorts of stuff. I mean, if you're an experienced gardener, you know that failure on some level is just part of your job. And it's overcoming those and learning from them that make you a better gardener, but a more careful one. And very few American gardeners, in my experience, and these are the people I dealt with over 28 years, rise to the level where, well, I can buy survival seeds and I'm going to be okay. I guess I'm questioning that. And then the other reason why I question whether it works, and this is what I said to her, is I said, so, what you're doing is buying these in case the grid goes down. There's no more food in the stores, or it's like the Y2K thing. We didn't know what was going to happen. And she goes, yeah, exactly. In case everything falls apart, I want to have my seeds. And I said, well, that's the part that won't work, in my opinion, because think about it. How long is your garden full of food going to last in an ocean of hungry people, especially in a country that has 2.2 guns per person? And not only guns, but automatic weapons. I mean, just think about it. You think you're going to be okay because you're growing your own food, and the grid's gone down and nobody has food. I mean, it's just a bit of a stretch to me. I mean, there may be isolated people, and maybe you've got your own guns and you're going to fight them off. I don't buy into that whole prepper thing. That's not where I'm going to go with my life. And we don't do that in our teachings in our seed schools. What we think and what I think is that the only real answer to this problem is community-based seed systems, so that everyone in your community can get seeds. Then we're all growing food. And what I know about gardening and synergy is that we'll probably have more than we need if a community set its mind to it and maybe specialize. That guy's doing peppers, that guy's doing beans, this guy's doing corn, or whatever it is. But as a community, we can be really strong. So that's what we need, is community seed systems. And that's what we try to work on. And it was kind of cute because this woman said, I'll call you back. And she hung up the phone right then. And I thought, wow. End of conversation. And about 3 weeks, she called me back and she said, Bill, we've worked it out. We want to buy enough seeds to supply our whole community. And we figure that what we need is seeds for about 1,300 people. And that's outside of Salmon, Idaho, near Chalice, Idaho. And I said, so how do you know? How'd you organize this? And she said, well, this is the Mormon church and this is the stake, they call it. And they've organized, community Mormon churches into sort of regional entities. And they have a command system over it, for information. And so she went to the stake, the head of the stake there, and if I'm butchering the language, I apologize, but because I'm not Mormon. But anyway, she said, we want to order seeds for 1,300 people. And so I worked up a deal for her, and it was way too expensive. But then I got to talking with her a further time, and I said, the 90% of the cost of a packet of seeds is in the packaging. So why don't you buy it bulk and you guys package it? And she said, and pass them out. If you're so organized, she said, I'll call you back. So she called back one more time. She said, okay, we got it. We're going to have one of the Mormon churches. Nobody has to drive more than 30 miles. And on a Sunday after church, we're going to set up all the seeds you send, the bulk seeds, in bowls. And we're going to put little envelopes by them, and we're going to have pens, and we're going to have instructions, and everybody will go and get their seeds. They'll scoop them out, package them up themselves, and 1,300 people in our area will get their seeds. And I went, bingo, that is a great idea. And I won't go on and tell the whole story of that, but I will say that was the germ of the idea behind the Great American Seed Up.
I did not know that.
That Greg and I and Janice have been doing now for 5 or 6 years. We're trying to build a community seed system in Phoenix. And we get like 700 people showed up last year?
Yeah, 800.
800 people.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about seed shortage, there is no shortage of the bulk kinds of seeds it would take for you to start your community in learning how to save and share its own seeds. And so when we do the Great American Seed Up, we're not doing it any more than this woman in Chalice, Idaho was doing. we don't want to supply everybody seeds. I mean, they'll have them in case of an emergency, but along with those seeds comes with the education on how to grow and share those seeds. And if you do those two things together, there is no seed shortage. And that's what we should all be thinking about. And it builds community. It crosses political lines. It gives us all the things, that we're missing, I think, in our society to make it way more healthy than it is now. So anyway, I just wanted to add in that part of what seed shortages are like before I kind of go into an overview of kind of what's going on the ground, and then we can open it up to questions if there are any.
Nice. Well, and it's going to be very interesting for me to go back and re-listen to that because I wasn't here for most of it. For whatever reason, my internet kept dropping and I had to log back in. So,
oh, okay.
I did get the last part of the stake centers at the Mormon Church, and that would be a really great place to reach out for our Great American Seed Up as well.
Well, we want everybody to grow and save and share seeds. My goal, I've got the Million Seed Saver campaign. I think that would save. It would nutritionally, it would save building our communities. It would make us so we're not afraid of the outside world. It would help us spiritually. There's so many ways that it could do that. And so, let's reach out wherever we can. I think that's a really good idea. And thank you for having, these seed chats. Thank you for the Urban Farm podcast, because this will be one. And Greg, you can go to your own podcast and listen to it. Isn't that great?
I actually did that this morning. I listened to the Chip Drop guy on my podcast this morning. So, and I recorded the thing. So
I love it. Well, I'm not the world's expert on seeds, and I try to keep an eye to what's going on globally, with seeds. So I'm going to talk about seeds that would interest the people that might listen to this podcast. Okay, and so I'm going to give a little overview of what I know about that. And so, when we started the Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance 6 years ago, Belle, my wife, and I, who's co-director, we drove thousands of miles all over the Mountain West, and gave little seed workshops, and we helped out where we could, and we met people. And the idea was to build a real network of real people. I mean, I love the internet, and it helps keep us together, but we've got to get beyond this idea that an internet site's going to save the world. You need real relationships, I think, underneath that.
Right.
And one of the things we did was we went to all the farmers markets we could. We went to farmers markets in Wyoming and Montana and, in Colorado. And of course, we've been to the ones here in Arizona. And one of the things we learned was that if ask the farmers there, the people that are actually really growing food. There's lots of people there doing all sorts of different kinds of commerce now, and there's value added, the breads and the kimchis and all the other stuff going. But I always go to the people that are actually growing food and bringing it to the market, fresh vegetables especially. Now we're getting grains. And I always ask them, where do you get your seeds? And the same answer, I was shocking how much the same answer came back over and over and over again. And it was Johnny's Selected Seeds, high mowing seeds, or some of the people way out west use territorial seeds out of south of Portland, Oregon. And that was it. And if you think about it, those are commercial scale. They can service these market growers. Johnny's, watched grow up. Rob Johnson's a friend of mine. I remember when he hired his first sort of manager. He had 7 employees. Now Johnny's is a $60 million company. And it and high mowing are both contract growing seeds in China. Certified organic seeds that supply those markets are being grown in China. And both of those sites had warnings for a while on their sites. I don't see them now. I just checked today. They're back and open for business, but during a critical time for especially market farmers. And that's what they both focused on filling orders for first, because it's so critical. But if you're a regular home gardener, you could not buy seeds at the time you needed them this year. They just were so overwhelmed by sales that they just couldn't keep up. So they had to choose who they were going to fill orders for. And so I just want to say that about, if you're worried about seed supply, just realize that is going on right now. That those companies that are supplying our farmers markets have gotten really big and good. But those seeds more and more now, and this is one of my favorite other topics, are now carry utility patents, which prevent farmers or us at home from saving seeds that we buy from them. In fact, 40% of Johnny's lettuce seeds now, certified organic, are patented. And that's a shocking thing to me. So here was we're building our own seed system. We're going to be organic. We're going to be self-reliant. And what? They're being contract grown in China and they're patented? Wow, maybe we need to look at our seed system a little bit differently. Maybe we need community-based seed systems, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we work on a lot here at Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance, which I think is really key, and I just wanted to point this out. If you're afraid of not having your own seeds, get in touch with your local seed library. And if there isn't one around you, start one. You can go to seedlibrary.net. All the instructions are there. You can hook into a network. There's about more than 400 seed libraries now in the United States, 600 worldwide. These are all just like you, grassroots. Somebody thought that their community should have seeds based on a 1,000-year-old idea from India, is that if anybody needs seeds, you give them to them. It's like checking them out from the library. And many of these seed libraries are in libraries. And you check them out. And if and when you can, you learn how to grow seeds from those plants and you check in twice as much. And the resource starts growing. And more people get involved. And all of the seeds that start coming out of there are adapted to your local region. And then you can get local stories with them. It's just an elegant and beautiful and sustainable way for us to bring back community systems. And so just think about that. Instead of like panic buying your seeds, look around, see who has them. Because, one of the secrets that every student that comes to our seed schools learns is that one of the problems in learning how to save seeds is that you end up with so damn many of them. I mean, this is an abundant system. And then you start feeling guilty. It's like, I've got all, it's like you, Greg, you've got, you've got so many chickpeas or whatever it is that you grow every year,
Yeah. That's a joke actually around here between my sweetie and I, Heidi. I've got so many seeds in packets everywhere, just in Ziploc bags and packets. She hides her seeds from me.
There are people all around you in every community now that want to share seeds. So think about that first. Get your seeds wherever you can. Seeds are seeds. They're the most magical, powerful, and abundant thing that you can put into your life. I think they're the best for our psychological health also. I think they're the answer. If in the Paycheck Protection Plan, they put a little bit of money in there to get, open pollinated seeds into everybody's hands and teach them how to save them, I think we could create a new economy. It would take a while, but it would be one that would survive the next storm that's coming, which is probably climate change caused. But that's just my view. So that's sort of, what I had to say tonight. Are there questions, or do you want to, I can go deeper into any of those things too. So.
Good question. Yeah, I can jump over and see if there are questions. I was just, my internet's been in and out, so I got on my cell phone internet to see if that fixed it. Let me jump over here to the questions. I know that, hey, guess what? Rebecca Newburn is in the house, so she's a friend of yours.
Rebecca is the Seed Library Earth Mother.
Great.
She set your controls for the heart of the sun and in the Seed Library movement, and you'll eventually end up with Rebecca. So thank you and bless you for all that you've done. I think when history is all said and done and we look at this period, because I think there's other disruptions coming, and how we act around seeds is going to be essential. When all of that's said and done, somebody's going to go, how did she know? Why did she work on this so well? Look at the good job she did. Because it's going to be epic when we finally realize that there's nobody coming to help, and all we have are what we have, and we have enough because we've got abundant seed libraries at the centers of our towns. It's going to be great.
Carol says, Greg's audio is bouncing in and out. Sorry about that. I do not know what's going on with my audio right now. Rebecca says they have COVID-19 resources at seedlibraries.net. Also, she said, where was it? I think she said, Rebecca Newburn, my hands are in the dirt as we speak. Nice. So, yes, there are some questions here. We have Terry from Aurora. This year I cleared out an older seeds and test planted some. I'm always fascinated by old seeds that germinate. Being a bit of a seed hoarder, I feel rotten disposing of seeds ever. Boy, I heard that. Any comment or suggestion on older seeds?
Well, never give up, even if 99% of your old seeds die and one of them makes it,
yep.
It could carry a treasure in it. You don't know. And so I never throw away any seeds. And again, I've said this over the years, you've heard it, Greg, is that we routinely get 90% germ on tomato seeds that are 10 years old or more. And
Yep.
I just got 80% germ on some Galena Siberian tomato seeds I had here that were labeled in a packet 1999.
Oh.
So that's 21 years old. And so, yeah, never give up on them. Seeds are really great insulation in storage containers for other seeds. So the seeds around the outside might die, but ones in the middle have a much higher chance. So if you've got cans or buckets of them, always reach into the middle if you want to find the most likely to germinate. And there is no excuse these days for hoarding. Take them down to your seed library. Yep. Start sharing. Hoarding is not allowed. Just remember, Dante Alighieri put the hoarders and the wasters almost at the bottom of the Inferno when he wrote that classic book in the Middle Ages, Yeah. That's pretty far down in hell, is the hoarders and the wasters. So there's no reason to hoard. You can do safety backup. You can make yourself comfortable. But if you feel guilty about hoarding, then it's time to start sharing.
Yeah, big time. Well, and that's one of the reasons that we set up the Great American Seed Up, because let me just tell the story. It'll only take me 2 hours
please.
or so.
Yeah, please.
So in 2011, in June of 2011, I was at your seed school in person in Tucson, and the conversation we had was Phoenix doesn't have a seed bank. So for the people that know me, this won't surprise you, but I put in process actions that I actually created a seed bank with about 1,000 pounds of about 80 different varieties of seeds here at my house. And I stored them in a freezer. And what I came to realize is what you said earlier, is that that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because all of those seeds were in a freezer here at the urban farm. What we needed to do is we needed to take it one step further, and that's where the Great American Seed Up came from, out of a conversation that you and me and Bell had, 6 years ago. And basically we said, what if there were 10,000 people saving seeds in Phoenix? So that is our intent, and you've since taken it to 1 million seed savers. I think my 10,000 is low. I think your million is low.
We better hope. There are 150 million gardeners in this country. Million? That should be easy. I don't know how we'll get there yet. It's going to have to be one of those hockey stick things.
Right. Well, and one of the things that we say, people can come to the Great American Seed Up. And why don't you spend just 1 minute, Bill, and tell people what the Great American Seed Up is and what it looks like the day it's happening?
Wow, it's really an exciting thing. We've learned over the years, we fine-tuned it. As I said, the basic idea came from this Mormon church. We didn't have bowls, so we got popcorn buckets. We bring in tons of seeds now that are almost directly from the farmers. I have a good friend I developed over the years through the seed industry that is the contract grower. He's the one that puts out the contracts, and then he brings them all in, tests everything, bags it up, and makes it available to us. So there's only one stop between you and these seeds. We put them in buckets so we avoid 90% of the cost. You can get a whole scoop of broccoli seeds for 75 cents, which is probably about the same as 10 packets. And this only costs you 75 cents. And if you want 2 scoops or 3 scoops, you decide. You fill out a little card. Janice has been really great at the whole checkout system for this. And then you go through a line and pay for them. And while we're running this seed room that can have hundreds of people in it, this year it's not, because we're going to space it out by the hour.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, do our social distancing thing. But we do have classes going on how to start seeds, how to save your own seeds, and how to store your own seeds. So you could literally go in there, get everything you need for your family and your neighborhood for the foreseeable future. In fact, we have seed libraries show up and representatives of communities that show up and get their seeds right now. Yes, that's what we want. If you're listening and you want to do that this year, let us know ahead of time so we make sure that we get you all taken care of. Without any stress.
That's for the people here in Phoenix. we hired an intern this season from Arizona State University, and she put together the package for how to run one of these if you're in Denver or in Seattle or, wherever. So we've got that as well in place. But my whole point for you to share that story, Bill, is that with this seed bazaar, somebody can come and spend $20 or $30 and have enough seeds for the rest of your life, because we teach you how to store them, how to start them, and how to save them.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, you could get enough seeds for the rest of your life in a lot of different ways, but that's definitely true here. So if you've been awakened, to the fragility of our globalized and centralized food system, that is now wasting millions of animals simply because we only have 4 meat processors for each of the different kinds of meat, I mean, but the same thing happens with the vegetables. They go through these hugely centralized systems and shipped out. And it doesn't take much to disrupt those. And as I said,
we've seen that.
The seeds are getting more and more centralized into larger and larger companies too. Yeah. And that takes away the local adaptation that you could have for them. And so of all the parts of the seed, or of the food system, seeds are the ones that naturally have to be local to take advantage of that adaptation that seeds can provide. You grow Mrs. Burns lemon basil in Tucson, Arizona for 80 years and save the seeds, and it is different than the lemon basil that was brought maybe from the East Coast, a long time ago by settlers. And so that's the point, is that plants learn to live where they are. And they do that we know they do that by sexual reproduction, that they'll pass on the genes. The plants that are strongest will pass on the genes, that responded and allowed them to be stronger. But we also know now that through the science of epigenetics, that plants can actually change in 1 year. They can roll up DNA sequences for enzymes that cause them to transpire too much, say, to get rid of too much water in case it's really hot and dry. It's a survival mechanism. And once they roll that DNA up, that characteristic of rolled up DNA can be passed on to its offspring in 1 year. So when you get stresses on your plants because of where you're growing it in your own backyard, that's valuable, because those offspring will have a head start in dealing with it. They won't have to go through that shock to change. They'll inherit that. And that's always been the basis of local seed saving and adaptation. It's just we didn't really have the science to explain it. We've been told that in order to change the plants fast enough to feed 9 billion people, we're going to have to genetically engineer them. And now we know that through epigenetics, plants are genetically re-engineering themselves all the time, every day in everybody's yard. And all we really need is for everybody to take advantage of it. 1 million new seed savers out there to start creating local specialized adaptation where they are. That gives us a chance to recreate the diversity we're going to need, I think, with the coming storms. So that I kind of got long-winded there, but so go to the Great American Seed Up, ask Greg about one if you're interested about one for your own town. We've been asked over the years for this, and we really didn't understand or didn't have the confidence that we could write down everything and get one of these to go in another place without us going there. I mean, it's a hugely complicated thing. How many volunteers do we have show up, Greg?
Hey, this is Janice. I'm jumping in because it sounds like Greg's gotten a little bit of audio problem. I've got a list of 45 to 60 volunteers that help out.
Right. So 150 varieties of seeds, 2 tons, all have to be organized. 800 people show up, and there's 48 volunteers to help make it work. So that's why we haven't made it available till now. But we've got somebody really sharp that's coming up with a playbook manual. And what it'll take is maybe one of us going out to your seed up in another city if you really want to do one of these things. And we really want to see them take off everywhere because, we didn't start this as a business, for business reasons, although it is. We started this because we want community-based seed systems everywhere. And this just happens to be a really great tool.
Model for it, yeah.
Yeah, for jump starting. It takes the Costco, big box idea or a pop-up tent idea for products into a city and then is combined with education.
Yeah. Carol and Carol and Ted are wondering about Great American Seed Ups where they live. You can email me or Janice, greg@urbanfarm.org, and we can get you in that loop. So let's see. I'm going to jump over to questions again and see what we have over there. Oh, here's one. Barbara, is there a guide to setting up community seed saving? And if you don't have an answer for that, maybe Rebecca does in the chat box.
Well, that's good. We got a grant to produce a seed teacher's curriculum manual, and we have those available. And if you'll email me, Bill at RockyMountainSeeds.org, I'll figure out how to get you one of those. What our answer to that is that we've been teaching seed schools, and all of those talk about all the skills you need. And then we've even, graduated to teaching seed teacher schools. And we get seed librarians, and we get people from Seed Savers Exchange and other organizations that come so that we can all learn together how to put together community seed systems. And so those are the two ways that we work. And again, we did do a manual, and it is available, and I'll try to get you one. And if it's not a physical one, I can get you a PDF, I believe. So
nice. Rebecca Newburn says, we are offering seed saving in a time of crisis. Yes. There is a link in the chat box. Good job, Rebecca. I'm just looking down through our questions here. I don't know, whatever's going on. I hope my sweetie Heidi is teaching a yoga class as we speak in the other room. She's hardwired with Ethernet. I'm hoping she's not having any problems. Christina from Midland, Texas says, this is a fantastic talk. Can Bill elaborate on epigenetics? Are traits based on sunlight, heat, wind, and drought tolerance passed on if plants are grown in containers? So before you jump into that, I'm going to say that it was 2 months ago. No, it was last month. So look at our seed chat on the Urban Farm podcast from last month. We had a guest speaker that talked all about this. So I'll give you only 1 minute to talk about this.
Right. No, I'm going to refer to the same thing, but that has not been up. So because we did that a month ago, was that released today as a podcast?
This is Janice stepping in. It was not released as a podcast because we did it as a webinar.
Okay.
Okay.
So
it is, however, in our Victory Garden Customer Hub.
Bundle. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So then make 2 minutes on epigenetics, Bill.
Well, I think I could summarize. Dr. Bradley Tunninson came on as a guest who is a PhD in genetics. He did his work in rice, and he now calls himself a spiritual farmer. And it's the only PhD in genetics I know in the modern world that I've met in my 40 years. And there could be others out there. Let's pray that there are. But that did not go into genetic engineering or the biotech sphere, which is where all the jobs are. Instead, Bradley took what he learned and he went the other way, and now he is trying to be another advocate for local seed saving as the basis of a new and productive and beautiful food system. And so the short answer is everything that happens to a plant can affect it genetically, epigenetically, and can be passed on, everything. And I say that with a capital E, because now I sleep better at night knowing that what I experienced personally when I went to Hopi and saw how they grow corn, now I have at least a little bit of an understanding about how that might work. Because if you ask, and you ask around at Hopi what makes their corn grow, they will tell you it's prayers. And that is certainly possible, that some sort of energy from us is affecting these plants, and that is being passed on to its offspring. And you do that for 1,000 years, and that starts to explain some things. Not only the fact that they're growing, the Hopi grow corn at 5,000 to 6,000 feet. They don't irrigate. There's no rainfall. It's 9 inches of rainfall a year. They have to plant the seeds a foot deep because that's the only moisture in the spring. They have to pray for monsoon rain to get it to come up. And all of those forces on the corn are passed on. That's what epigenetics tells us. And it's been, Bradley gave us a book a reference in that webinar. I'll see if I can't find that for you to look at. Well, here it is. Holdridge is the name. Holdrege is how I wrote it down. 1996. It's called Genetics and the Influence of Environment. So that would be a textbook if you wanted to read further.
Cool. So Ted says, is this group aware of the food is free movement? Have you heard of that, Bill?
I've just heard about the gasoline is free movement from Sheryl Crow. I love that song. No, I haven't, and I love it. Food should be free.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. So, my life philosophy is based on one author, Daniel Quinn, and he's written multiple fiction books that really address what we're up to and how we came to be. His first one is Ishmael, all about how it's a conversation between a gorilla and a man. The gorilla is the teacher on how we came to be, and there was a time that food was free, and when the forces in our culture locked up the food, that's when things went south. So this is foodisfreeproject.org. I'm going to have to check it out. We need to get them. Yeah, we need to get them on the podcast. Wow. Thanks for that, Ted. And this is a specific question looking for a good source for starter potatoes. I buy them at the grocery store and make sure they're organic. What do you do, Bill?
Well, you have to be careful because many states have regulations. So I don't know what state the question is coming from. But you want to search in your state. It's just easier. If you get seed potatoes in from out of state and your state grows potatoes, there's a huge, barrier there. They don't want outside diseases coming in. And so we can understand that. And so, over the years, I have been growing and saving potato seed I originally got from Mike Heath and Nate Jones in Idaho, who, Idaho potato boys, and that's where I came from. So, that's a local and more specific answer. There was a place in northern Idaho. It was called Ronniger's, and I believe it's sold. I haven't looked for a while, but Mr. Ronniger was a friend of mine, and he sold the company to somebody else, so I don't know what's going. But they used to sell mail order about 100+ varieties of potatoes.
Wow.
And how they did that mail order and shipped them all over, I don't know. And whether they're still doing it or not, I don't know. But that was the go-to place for a long time.
There you go. Anne's got a question from Phoenix. This is a Greg question. I'm going to give you the short answer, Anne. If you want, I've talked about this a lot in the past, but if you want, the best thing to do is to get a garden consult with me, and we can go over in depth on how to do this. Janice will put the garden consults in the chat box. Anne says, have a yard full of Bermuda grass. What is the best way to clear it for more planting space? Well, you have to dig it out. I have found that the best way to do is to use a sod cutter and cut it out, but you have to put barriers in place. I call them weed walls to keep the grass out of where you're trying to, what you're trying to keep clear. So, because Bermuda will take over. So there's a whole lot more to that. I could talk for an hour just on Bermuda grass and managing it. Let's see here. All right, here's a 1 minute question for you here, Bill. Chris wants to know what's the best way to store seeds.
We get this every time, and it's great.
Yeah, we
Keep
do.
asking. Yeah, cool, dark, and dry. Cool means below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That comes from a contract that NASA had with Utah State University. They did all sorts of studies, and for the amount of cost and energy and whatever, just keep it below 80, and those seeds some will die every year, and the germ will go down, but it will happen really slowly. If you cook them above 80 for a while, they'll start to die off more quickly. Dark, just keep them out of the sun. Many of us put them in containers anyway, and dry.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in a climate that has higher humidity, then you might want to look at those silicone bags that come in every electronic device.
Oh yeah.
You may want to pack them up on non-rainy or low humidity days if you're going to store them for long periods of time. You may have to be a little bit careful. Air conditioning actually dries air. So you could, just keep them in your air-conditioned
Mm-hmm.
house, and if it's below 80, you're going to be fine. So that's kind of a general thing.
Yeah, I store them in jars in the freezer.
Good idea. Just make sure you bag them up on a dry day. If you live out west, where there's 20% or less humidity normally, like we do in Arizona, then you'll be fine. And as I said, the seeds will last a long time.
Yeah. Dee Dee from Tempe, how do you save onions from the garden if they don't go to seed, as well as how do you have garlic bulbs? How do you save garlic bulbs that you pulled in April but want to plant them in November? I have an answer for this, but what's your answer, Bill?
No, go ahead. I'd love to hear yours.
So onions, the only onions that, she's in Tempe, the only ones that I've been successfully able to grow is the Iitoi onions, Iitoi onions. And anybody that is near me, I'll give you a fistful of them, because you plant one in a year, you'll have in 6 months, you'll have a dozen, and then from there, you'll have 144. What I do with my garlic, because I've noticed this before, if you harvest it and here in the desert and leave it somewhere, it dries out. So I don't harvest all of my garlic from my yard. I only harvest some of it, and I leave some of it behind, and it stores just fine in the ground, and then it comes up next season in spades.
Wow. Good idea. That's permaculture. Why do you work?
Plus, I harvest my garlic now in May, and I plant it in September. Just, she said April harvest and November plant. But no, the sooner you get it in after the heat dies down in the desert here, the better off you're going to be.
Yes. Generally curing it, first, let it dry. Once you pull it up, let it dry for a day or two before you try to store it. And again, cool, dark, and dry would be general.
Yeah.
The perfect place to store it, even in Tempe, would be a root cellar, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have that anymore. And so.
Right. I have lived here at the urban farm for 31 years, and I have I've looked and looked and looked. It's a third of an acre. It's 80 feet wide and 160 feet deep, and I have looked and looked and looked where I could put a root cellar in, and it's just, I don't have the space for it. I would love one.
Yeah.
We need one up where you're at.
Yeah, well, that's a real possibility, and we may have to do that. It's just backup for the seed up, so
right.
We'll talk.
Brent says, comment from Brent, have some seeds from my wife's grandfather. Going to try to germinate them. Also some from a friend from anywhere from 4 to 20 years ago, feeling optimistic. One of the things you might do, Brent, is do a germination test on them. I'll have Bill tell us what that is. And then when they germinate, you plant the germination tested seeds. Bill? Yeah,
you don't have to waste the seeds to do a germ test. There's a modern method where you just put them on a piece of damp paper towel in a petri dish. The traditional method is to roll them up in paper towels. And again, we do this. We show you how they do it at seed labs, for official germination tests. And you can actually get a book and learn the parameters so that your tests are official if you're doing a community system or a library or something and you want to do that. But it's pretty easy. But people think, I don't have enough seeds for a germ test. I only have, a few of them. Well, I like what you said, Greg. Well, just plant the paper towel after you're done. If they do germinate, and then you can do both. And that way you don't waste your time. But again, don't give up. Sometimes old seeds take way longer to germinate for some reason. They're really slow to germinate. And again, if only one of them makes it, and it's from your grandfather or whatever it is, that's a treasure. Yeah. So I wish you luck on that.
So a germ test, basically you just take a small piece of paper towel and you wet it and you put out, if you're going to do an official as they become germ test, you want to do 100 seeds, right, Bill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Official is 100. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you just want to do 5 or 10, you put 5 or 10 of them on that wet paper towel, put another paper towel on top of it, wet it, roll it up, keep it in a damp place, and unroll it 3 days later and see what you get. And if they haven't germinated, because some seeds like parsley take, 21 days or something crazy like that?
Yeah. Yeah, carrots could take 6 weeks, old carrot seed.
Wow. There you go.
Just saying. Yeah.
Let's see here. Manon says, what is the difference between a seed library and the Great American Seed Up? Well, first of all, go check out greatamericanseedup.org, and Janice will put that in the chat box. But Bill?
In a sense, the Great American Seed Up is like a big seed library, except we're only open 2 days a year. The advantage a seed library has is that it's usually open year-round. Now, not all of them are open all days of the week year round, and some are only open some days of the year. But generally, the idea is that the community can have access to seeds when it needs them. Otherwise it would be what we call a seed exchange, where everybody comes together and exchanges seeds in a big party. They have these all over Canada. They call them Seedy Saturday seed exchanges or Seedy Sundays. And they become part of the national fabric up there as they try to make Canada self-reliant in its own seed production. That's part of a national program up there. We just haven't gotten that memo yet quite down here, and we're behind, and we need to try to catch up. And so, view this seed up as a kind of a starter. If you really wanted to get lots of really great seed libraries and seed exchanges going in your city, seed up would be a way to get lots of seeds that could be used for that kind of thing once they're grown and saved into your community. Otherwise, people are going to have to order them, get them in. Lots of seed libraries start up with seeds that are donated at the end of the year, old seeds from seed companies. That's where they come from. And so, that's probably the biggest difference. I'd be interested to hear what Rebecca has to say, and I'm so happy she's on here.
Oh, no kidding. So imagine, Manon, a 10,000 square foot room with over 100 different varieties of seeds in it in popcorn buckets. So each variety of seed has its own popcorn bucket. And we have business cards for each one of the seed varieties and Ziploc bags, little Ziploc bags next to that seed variety, and a sign and a scoop that talks about what that seed is and a scoop to scoop the seeds into the bag. So it's basically, imagine a great big farmer's market or bazaar with over 100 different varieties of seeds that you can scoop up at a super, super inexpensive price. The seed up is meant to really super energize a local seed economy. Seed libraries often are in libraries, and often they use their old book card shelves to put seeds in. And generally what you do at a seed library is there are seeds there in packets. You go check out a packet, you take it home and you grow it, you make more seeds, and then you bring the seeds back to the library to reinvigorate the library. So that in my mind, that's the difference. Bill?
Oh, that was great. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah,
we get so close to these things, we don't explain them well, but you did a great job. That's really what a seed library is. And as I said, we have people now coming from seed libraries to the Great American Seed Up to get seeds for their seed library. So. Oh,
and Janice tagged me and she says, Greg, and education.
Yeah.
Everything with us, Bill, Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance, Urban Farm U, Grow PHX, Janice, Greg, Taylor, Renee, Raymond, all of our team, in our fruit tree program, in the Great American Seed Up, in online, it's education first. We put that first above profits. We put that first above anything because we feel like the single most important thing that you can be doing right now is learning where your food comes from and how to grow your own. So that's what we educate for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And be careful. Once you do it,
right?
You're never coming back.
Yeah. You get like Greg. Oh my God. When I was pontificating there a minute ago, it's like spit was flying out of my mouth and it was like, yes, this is what we need to be doing. Sorry.
Well, and your wife starts hiding her seeds so she can't get all this weird stuff starts to happening. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
A comment from Janice. People are in our lives, in our live class, are getting the benefits of the chat room. This week we have Rebecca sharing several great links. We'll add them. Oh, good. Yeah. Adding the show notes to the chat to the show notes will be really good, Janice. That'd be great. Awesome. I think we are at the end of our Q&A. We're at the end of our hour. We're right on 59 minutes at this point. Why don't you, Bill, tell everybody about, I give you 1 minute on this. Tell everybody about Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance, please.
Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance is a network of people who've realized what we were talking about earlier, that to really do this, to solve the seed problem, if you see it that way, we're going to have to do it together. That's the culture that created these seeds. Largely everything that we eat from plants was a wild plant at one point,
Yep.
And somebody, over the last 10,000 years took care to grow and save seeds from ones they liked a little bit better. And by the time we came around in the 20th century, it was a gift, a huge gift. And we've wasted maybe up to 90% of those varieties, or at least they're not being planted anymore.
Yeah.
And so, to truly realize the importance and the power of that gift, we need to realize that it's our responsibility to pass them on and continue the kind of community that would take to do that. And so that's our attempt with the Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance. So we just do three things. We inspire people to get involved, we educate them, and then we network them. And so go to RockyMountainSeeds.org. We have directories there. You can find all the people that are in our network that are seed teachers or seed libraries or seed stewards. You can find the people that are taking care of glass gem corn, and you can communicate with them directly. And so our idea is not to build another empire or another great organization. Actually, the goal of the Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance is to dissolve itself someday, because every community has
their own seeds.
That's our goal.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Join us. Give us $5 a month to help. You can sign up with one of those repetitive, recurring things. If everybody in our network did that, we would be funded enough to keep doing the work we're doing. We're going to do an international seed festival in Idaho in the fall of 2021 instead of our seed summit. And we continually do classes, and you can read about those on the website.
Yeah. We're actually doing, you may not know this yet, but we're actually doing the Seed Summit online in the fall, Bill.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. With the backbone of the Seed School online class.
Wow. Well, that's an interesting idea. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, we are going to, because I need lots of resources from you. We have one more comment, and then I'm going to bring Janice on because she's got some things to share as well. Jeepsters, who is in the chat room, says, you need to be careful going to the Great American Seed Up. I needed to build 7 new garden beds to keep up with the new seeds that he planted this spring. Nice. Are you with us, Janice?
I am.
So
it has been so fun in the chat room. I swear I love it.
Oh, I'll bet. Before you get too far along, Janice, I just want to share with everybody, I'm a what-if kind of guy. I like to come up with ideas. And Janice came into my life 5 years ago. Can you believe it's been 5 years, Janice?
Wow.
Bill? I know.
Yeah.
Janice came into my life 5 years ago, and she is irritatingly organized. But it makes everything work so much better. So I just want to shout out to you, Janice, for that. Thank you for really making our ideas sing, between the Great American Seed Up and the Fruit Tree Program and our online projects, and then Taylor came on, and she manages a lot of our online stuff. It's just like you two are the exact two people that I needed to have come into my life to make this stuff work. So thank you.
I love it. You've given me quite the puzzle to put together. Pieces. I love it.
So talk about the buttons on the right, and then I actually have a little bit to say about that. And then
depending on whether or not you're on a tablet or if you're on a computer or on a phone, there's some links on the side. We do have a donate button if you'd like to help. $5, $10, doesn't matter. We appreciate everything that's kind of helping us stick to what we're doing right now with our shutdown of local events. And then we've got some links under call, handouts, and links. So with reminder emails is what you can click on if this is your first time joining us with this class and you would like to get reminder emails about joining us for other webinar classes that we have. Harvest the entire series is what you would click on to get access to the entire collection of the gardening classes. We've put them on a separate page, trying to add all the links, all the notes, and everything that I possibly can harvest from the chat room next to them. And we've got all the classes that we've had grouped into organized pages in there. And
we're
then
almost at 50, right?
Yeah. Yep. Well, this is 49. So although the summit classes aren't in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Shop Our Store is, if you're local or not, we do have a few items that the Urban Farm sells that we can either have for pickup or for some of the items we can ship.
Yeah, perfect. And I just want to do a shout out to all you that, because we've been selling 1 or 2 of these packages a day for all of the classes. So basically our Victory Garden Bundle package is all of our classes that we've done, all 45 of them. The summit is different, all 45 of them over the past 2 months. And this, by purchasing the bundle, it's $97. It does two things. First of all, it gives you an amazing resource with at least 50 hours worth of education on gardening topics, from human manure to seeds to vermicomposting to gardening to on and on and on. The other thing that it does, and Janice kind of inferred this a moment ago, or mentioned this a moment ago, and that is that it supports us in the work we're doing here, because so much of our stuff got shut down. So it's a feel good for you that you get to learn, and it's also a feel good for you that you donate a little bit of money our way to help us keep doing what we're doing. So thank you for those of you that have done that. We appreciate it.
Great.
Any last words, Bill or Janice?
Plant seeds. There is no shortage.
There you go. Janice?
Well, I want to say thank you to Bill, because Bill was our first class in our gardening classes.
2 months ago, yeah.
Yeah. And
wow.
We appreciate that so much. And then this week we have one more class. That is the one that we did not get to have last time. That is the
Dishing with Greg.
Dishing with Greg.
Yeah. It's a really cool interview that Michael Brownlee, he's an author up in Colorado, did with me last month. We have gone to 2 classes a week. Through last week, we were doing 5 classes a week. That's a lot of work. So we're now at 2 classes a week. And then for sure next Tuesday, I am doing a brand new class on fertilizing, mulching, foliar fertilizing, and pest control for your fruit trees. So you won't want to miss that. And then we have a lot of the supplies that you'll need so that you can, successfully get all your trees in your gardens going, but more specifically fruit trees. And then who knows what next Thursday is? We'll have to create something.
I'll have something set up.
Thank you both very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Have a great day, Farm Out, and we will catch you on the flip side.
What if you could stop relying on going to the grocery store to get eggs and milk? Here at the Urban Farm, I love my chickens, and thanks to my dozen hens, we get 8 to 10 eggs a day to fry up for breakfast or use in omelets, cakes, baked goods, and to share with our families and friends and so much more. The thing is, I don't trust a lot of the food from the grocery store. Factory farmed eggs have lower levels of nutrients than Heidi's happy, healthy hens that live in our backyard. When I get eggs and milk from the animals that I raised, I know that it's as nutritious as possible, and I become much less dependent on the industrial food system. I want to challenge you to expand your idea of what it means to grow food. If you don't have livestock, consider waking up every day to fresh eggs. If you already have layers, imagine how it would feel to also get fresh milk and cheese from your yard. You can play with these possibilities by attending our Backyard Barnyard Summit coming up this June. It's completely free, online, designed to show you exactly what it takes to raise livestock in your yard, even if you live in the city. After this summit, you will know which urban animals will work in your yard, plus what you need to do to successfully raise them. Learn more and sign up at backyardbarnyardsummit.com.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Urban Farm Podcast. Remember to listen for tips, advice, and resources to help you on your journey with urban farming. You can find us on the web at urbanfarm.org or send us an email to podcast@urbanfarm.org. In the words of Vincent van Gogh, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Be encouraged that with each lesson learned and skill developed, you are one step closer in the direction of your dreams.